Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We are unpacking a truly fascinating concept today, the biological architecture of limitless learning. I absolutely love this topic because it completely rewires how we view our own human potential. We're going to break down exactly how your brain actually absorbs information. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to bypass those frustrating roadblocks that have been slowing your mind down. So look at this formula. Information plus emotion equals long-term memory. We usually treat learning like it's just raw intellect, right? We try to cram facts, stare at pages of text, and just expect our brains to act like computer hard drives. But honestly, that idea is completely backward. If there's no emotional connection, no emotional state tied to the data, the information just doesn't stick. It simply washes away. Section 1. Biological, not logical. We've all been there, trying to learn like robots, using cold, calculated, brute cognitive force. But here's the reality check. We are biological and emotional beings. Our capabilities are governed by our biology and our emotional states, not just cold logic. Actually, scratch that. Logic is barely part of the equation when it comes to deep retention. When we stop trying to force logic and start leaning into our biology, the whole shebang shifts. Let's look at Section 2, the belief barrier. Success is an inside-out game. All behaviors are belief-driven. This is absolutely crucial to grasp. You cannot bend or influence a person or even yourself by just changing surface-level actions. So many strategies out there just flat-out fail because the underlying beliefs haven't been broken. Why? Because beliefs are self-fulfilling prophecies. Unconsciously, you're always going to try to prove that your own belief is correct. If you don't flip the internal belief first, the external strategy is going to fail every single time. Think about this. Your capabilities are limited by your fears. In fact, a limit is literally defined by a fear of something. And what cements that fear? Your self-talk. It programs your brain. Your limit is simply your belief. If you're constantly walking around telling yourself, oh, I have a terrible memory, or I just can't focus, you are actively programming your brain to fail. It's like writing bad code. We have to monitor our self-talk and, crucially, flip the script for our own benefit. Okay, here is a real game-changer paradigm shift. Creativity, energy, focus, and memory are not things you have, but things you do. What an incredibly empowering shift. You don't just possess a bad memory, and you aren't just naturally lacking energy. We do these things, which means we can control them. They are active behaviors we choose to take, not some innate, unchangeable trait you're just stuck with for life. Moving on to Section 3, tuning your brainwaves. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how our internal biological landscape acts in phases. At the very top, we have the delta state. That's deep sleep. Below that is theta, our highly creative state. And at the bottom, beta, our normal, waking, usually stressed out conscious state where we spend most of our busy days. But right there in the middle, nestled between theta and beta, is the alpha state. This is it. This is the sweet spot. It's the absolute perfect state for learning. It's the exact state you're in when you're meditating, when you're in a light trance, or honestly, even when you're just super relaxed watching television. In this alpha state, your brain is actively soaking up all the information like a sponge. This is your ultimate learning zone. You don't want to be highly stressed out in beta, and you don't want to be asleep in delta. You want alpha. Because ultimately, all learning is dependent on our state. Think back to that mathematical formula from the very beginning, information plus emotion. You literally have to actively control your state, finding a way to transition into that highly receptive alpha zone to lock in that long-term memory. It is all about recognizing and taking the wheel of your biological state. Section 4, moving to learn. Did you know the primary functionality of our mind is actually to control our body's movements? When you initiate physical exercise, an incredible thing happens. The more you move, the more your brain grooves or dances. I absolutely love that phrasing. Your brain is literally dancing. Physiology directly affects our mentality. If you want to learn better, you have to literally get up and move. Your physical movement is what drives that cognitive dancing in your brain. So how do we actually pull this off in the real world? First, show up and don't quit easily. Second, play full out. Be completely involved and commit to it. Third, stay curious. You have to be just as ready to unlearn old junk as you are to learn new things. And finally, be fast and quick. To really hack your learning, you can't just sit passively. You got to be completely active, engaged, and physically involved in the whole process. And finally, Section 5, the ultimate mastery hack. Look, before you leap fully into action, you've got to hone your skills. Working smarter is always better. It's not just about running fast, right? It's about running in the right direction. Proper preparation and sharpening your tools are completely required before you throw yourself into execution. Because knowledge is power, and knowledge is profit. When you unlock this biological architecture of limitless learning, you're not just gaining a few random trivia facts, you're gaining immense responsibility. And with this great responsibility comes the very real power to transform, change, and influence the people around you. And that brings us directly to the ultimate mastery hack: try to teach. Think about it. You have to be an expert to teach others. If you want to permanently cement everything we've talked about today into your long-term memory, do not just consume it quietly. Turn around and teach it to someone else. The very act of teaching literally forces you to solidify your own expertise and deeply embed the information. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question to chew on. Now that your limits are gone, now that you know for a fact that your memory and focus are things you do and not things you have, who are you going to teach? Take a second, think about the incredible biological potential you've just tapped into, and decide exactly how you're going to share it. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I highly encourage you to start controlling your biological state and sharing your knowledge right now.